A dying subduction zone. Doesn't that sound good? Especially for the ones that live along a subduction zone. Pacific Ring of Fire, for example, that is threatening the whole Pacific with big tsunamis, megathrust earthquakes, and a lot of damage. So when I heard that, I was interested in which subduction zone is actually dying, and is this a good thing, or is this maybe an even more terrifying thing? Because this can go both ways, and we hear headlines quite a bit in the last few days. A slow-moving rift deep underground has scientists focused on the Pacific Northwest. And that was ringing in my ears because Pacific Northwest, that is the Cascadia Subduction Zone, the big one. We're talking about a megathrust earthquake, magnitude 9 plus. Many scientists say it's overdue. I just released a video about it where the latest research shows they have detected fluids. And what that means, you have to watch it in the end screen, guys. I'll put it there. But now, this is something else, and this is kind of crazy. So we need to look into this, guys. Take a coffee, take a tea. I just made coffee because we need to investigate that. We have to talk about a dying subduction zone. You hear me right. You might now, if you watch my channel on a regular basis, scream in excitement, a subduction zone dying. Does that mean no more magnitude 9 plus or 8 plus megathrust earthquakes like we've seen the Hoku earthquake in Japan with the massive tsunami, or Kamchatka, or the dangerous Pacific Northwest, Western Canada, Western US, that is due to produce a magnitude 9 plus earthquake, and 8 to 15 minutes later, a tsunami up to 100 feet or even higher. So what am I talking about? Subduction zones, mostly they're along this horseshoe ring of fire, and it encloses the Pacific. So we have many dangerous subduction zones. They're responsible for most of the dangerous and large earthquakes and volcanic activity on Earth. So if you hear it's dying, but scientists are shocked. They're shocked about what they found. And so you might get a hint that this is not, it's all great. The big one's not coming. It's a little bit more different. But scientists are shocked. They're shocked about what they found. And so you might get a hint that this is not, it's all great. The big one's not coming. It's a little bit more different. So now you know the location where this is happening. And when I saw that, because that affects me directly, I'm living on the Pacific Northwest, and I am worried about the big one. I just reported about it, that they found fluids in the Cascadia Subduction Zone. And before you hear it, do me a favor, leave this video a like and a hype. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps my channel. Thank you so much. And now you do have to hear this. Imagine the ground beneath the Pacific Northwest is slowly tearing apart. So we thought, wait a minute, I thought that is a subduction zone where one plate subducts underneath the other. And that is so dangerous because right now there, it's locked and loaded and the energy is building up. So if that releases at once, the land will lift up and subside, and we will see a megathrust earthquake, magnitude 9 plus potential. And 8 to 15 minutes later, the devastating tsunami up to 100 feet. That's the earthquake where scientists say it will destroy the Pacific Northwest. It will rip it open. And everyone's scared about that. This goes from northern Western Canada, Vancouver Island, Vancouver. We're going down into Washington State, Seattle, Puget Sound. We're going down into Oregon, Portland, and we're going down into Northern California, Crescent City, Eureka. This is how long the Cascadia Subduction Zone is. So is this about that? Is it dying? Can we all celebrate? Wait a minute, guys, you need to hear this. It's not that easy. And it's unfortunately, I don't think, reason to celebrate. So what I'm about to tell you is not the script for a Hollywood disaster movie. And it's not in one massive earthquake either. Because right now, deep beneath the ocean floor, The Earth's tectonic engine is literally ripping itself into pieces. The Earth's tectonic engine, keep that in mind. And scientists just caught this happening. So for the first time in history, researchers have actually seen a subduction zone dying in real time. One of the most powerful geological systems on Earth, breaking apart piece by piece. So is this a good thing? If it's breaking apart, can it still do the dangerous subduction process, you might ask? So the discovery comes from new research that has just been published, and what they found beneath the coast, and here comes the location, of Vancouver Island and the Cascadia region is something that scientists have only theorized so far. But now they have the proof. It's reality. Because what's happening down there is, like, we have to say, watching a massive train derail in real time. And it could change how scientists understand earthquakes, volcanoes, and the entire life cycle of our planet. This is how significant that is. And that's why, no, that's not the reason why it's shocking. You need to hear the reason why it's shocking. I'm getting to this. So we need to understand why scientists are shocked. But first, we need to understand what is a subduction zone actually, and why are these places among the most dangerous regions on Earth. We have to picture two gigantic slabs of Earth's crust. These slabs are called tectonic plates. They're all over Earth, right? They're constantly moving extremely slowly, some more slow than others, but sometimes they collide. And when they do, one plate is forced downwards beneath the other, sinking deep back into the Earth's mantle. That place where one plate dives underneath another one is the subduction zone, and they are the engines of the planet. They're moving continents across the globe. That's what they're doing. And they are recycling Earth's crust back into the mantle. They're basically melting it again. Recycling, yeah, it's real recycling. But they trigger these massive earthquakes, and they create chains of volcanoes. That's why we have all these volcanoes along the Pacific Ring of Fire, that big horseshoe, dangerous zone that surrounds the Pacific Ocean. And some of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded on Earth have happened at subduction zones. And the Pacific Northwest sits directly on one of them. I am sitting directly on one of them, the Cascadia Subduction Zone. Two oceanic plates, the Juan de Fuca plate and the Explorer plate, are slowly sliding beneath the North American plate, subducting. And this is the system capable of producing the infamous Cascadia megathrust earthquake that scientists believe could reach magnitude 9 or even higher. But here's the thing that most people do not realize. Subduction zones are incredibly powerful. We know that. But they do not last forever. Did you know that? They do not last forever. If they did, well, continents would eventually crash together and then merge endlessly. The oceans would disappear, and much of Earth's geological history would be erased. But that's not the case. So scientists have long wondered about something very fundamental. How do these gigantic tectonic systems actually die, disappear? And for decades, researchers came up with a lot of theories, but they had actually never seen the process happening, poof, I have to say, until now. So is this a situation of Shizzy hitting the fizzy, or is it like Shizzy going away from the fizzy? We have to figure this out. Let's go off the coast of Vancouver Island in Canada. Scientists have captured something Yeah, extraordinary. And Vancouver Island is highly endangered by the Cascadia Subduction Zone. We know that the northern zone of the Cascadia Fault is probably the most locked and loaded, and that the Cascadia Fault doesn't have to rupture all at once. There's new findings. I'll put that in the end screen. So what did they do? Of course, they have used seismic imaging techniques, very advanced one, the latest one. And they discovered that the plate that is being pushed under the North American plate is literally, really literally tearing apart. So the first question was, okay, it's subducting. So instead of building up pressure, is it just breaking apart and then crumbling and then going into the mantle? Is this taking stress away? Well, let's hear it. So the oceanic plate is not breaking in one giant snap. Instead, it's ripping apart slowly there, piece by piece. So I'm getting back to my train example. So imagine a long train moving at full speed, very, very fast. Now, imagine that the train is starting to derail. And it doesn't derail with all cars at once. It derails with the first one, and then the other ones are following. It's like a ripple effect, a domino effect, right? And that's exactly how researchers are describing the dying of the subduction zone right now. So we have geologist Brandon Schuck from the Louisiana State University. He says starting a subduction zone is actually like trying to push a train up a hill. It's like an enormous force, but once the system gets going, it's like a train racing downhill, actually. So ending one, he says, requires something very dramatic. He calls this a tectonic train wreck. So do we have a tectonic train wreck happening right now? Yeah, that's what scientists are watching in real time now unfolding beneath the Pacific Northwest. I'm still a little bit excited about that if I was to hear that for the first time, right? So where did this discovery come from? Let's talk about that. It came from a massive scientific expedition called the Cascadia Seismic Imaging Experiment, or CASIE 21. Of course, they want to look at the Cascadia Subduction Zone because that is, right? So during this mission, scientists used a technique, we can say they gave Earth an ultrasound. This is what we can compare it with. And they used a research ship. They sent powerful sound waves down to the seafloor. And these sound waves then travel deep into the crust. And they're bouncing off rock layers there. And then they return to the surface. So to capture these echoes, the researchers deployed an enormous 10-mile, roughly 15-kilometer long line of underwater sensors that they had trailing behind their research vessel. So we're talking about 10 miles of sensors. Then they got the return signals and they used them. They created extremely detailed images of the structures that are hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean floor. Who and what those images revealed, then they saw it. They looked at the full picture and then they were like, whoa, wait a minute. It was shocking. It was shocking. This is how they describe it. So deep below the surface, the oceanic plate is fracturing into enormous pieces. So we have huge cracks that are running through the plate, actually. And in some places, that's a very interesting part. The sections of the plate have already dropped by about 5 kilometers, 3 miles. I repeat, 3 miles, a little over 3 miles. Downward. So essentially, the plate is being sliced apart by massive faults, and then it's sinking. And one of these tears stretches even 60 miles, 75 kilometers. And then, when scientists compared the seismic images with the earthquake records that they had, they noticed something very strange. Now listen carefully. Some parts of the tear were still producing earthquakes, but other sections had suddenly gone silent. No earthquakes at all. Now you might ask, if you're watching my channel on a regular basis, I hope you do, and I hope you like and you hype this video. By the way, hint, you might think, oh, is that the reason why the Cascadia Fault is way more silent than the other faults in Japan, Kamchatka, South America, Philippines? Because it's gone? Well, I can tell you this. The science turned out to be a crucial clue, because once a piece of the plate completely breaks off, the rocks are no longer locked together, right? They're not. It breaks off. And without that pressure, the earthquakes stop happening there, right? So those quiet areas are likely places where the plate has already separated. But we cannot mix this with the Cascadia Fault being quiet and not having produced a megathrust earthquake, because we're still within the cycle every 350 to 500 years. But what they discovered, these fragments that have broken apart, something else is happening there as well. The gaps between these fragments are slowly widening. I think that's a good thing, because then they can't collide again, can't they? Or are they moving towards something that's behind them or around them? So as the plates tear apart, something else begins to happen. These fragments start behaving like their own small tectonic plates swimming around there. The scientists call these microplates. Here it comes. Instead of one large plate moving beneath North America, the region could eventually contain multiple smaller plates, each with its own plate boundaries and movements. So I have to say, this kind of fragmentation was suspected before, but scientists had never directly observed it actually happening. And they describe this process, they call it episodic termination. That means the subduction zone doesn't suddenly collapse in one giant event. Instead, it dies in stages. Let's speak about transform faults, places where plates slide sideways past each other. They act like giant scissors, cutting through the plate. Each cut isolates then another fragment, and each fragment reduces the overall downward pull of the plate, the overall subduction of the plate. And with every piece that breaks away, the entire subduction loses momentum. That sounds, let's wait. It's like removing cars from a runaway train. The more you remove, the lesser cars can derail, right? So eventually, the whole system slows down and stops. But the process doesn't happen overnight. Unfortunately, each stage can take millions of years. So does that give us relief from our anxiety about the big one? No, but it helps to explain one of the great mysteries of Earth's past. Let's look at places like Baja California. Scientists have long discovered like strange fragments of ancient tectonic plates that are buried beneath the crust. They call them fossil microplates. They are leftovers from the once massive Farallon plate, which used to dominate the Pacific Ocean. So for years, geology suspected that these fragments were the remains of dying subduction zones. But they didn't fully understand, how did these plates break apart? So now the Cascadia region is giving scientists, we can say, a front row seat to this exact same mechanism, a slow tearing process where plates split into pieces, then create microplates over time. But the breakup of a tectonic plate doesn't just stop the movement. It can actually reshape the whole planet, and that's why I said at the beginning, it has implications for the whole Earth. When a fragment detaches from the subducting plate, it can create something called a slab window. Okay, what is this? This is a gap where hot mantle material from deep inside the Earth rises towards the surface. And then here it comes. That rising material can trigger new volcanic activity. Boof, there it is. So that's important. Sometimes in places where volcanoes didn't exist before. That's not good. I really don't like that. So over millions of years, these processes can rearrange entire tectonic boundaries. Like we have new plates that are forming and old plates are drifting away. And that slowly changes the map of our whole planet, as you can imagine, right? So what scientists are witnessing beneath Cascadia right now is essentially a snapshot of Earth's tectonic life cycle. We have the birth, the evolution, and the eventual death of one of the planet's most powerful geological engines. But again, what does that mean for us living here, for the Pacific Northwest? Could this tearing plate trigger massive earthquakes actually? Could it be worse than just waiting for the one big one? So right now, but they might change their opinion. Scientists say this discovery does not significantly change the short-term earthquake risk. The Cascadia Subduction Zone is still capable of generating very large earthquakes and tsunamis, so that danger remains. But the newly discovered fractures may influence how future earthquakes spread through the region. So they are now investigating whether a major earthquake could rupture across all these tears or not. Whether the fractures might actually limit the size of future ruptures. So if they one day fully understand that, it could really help improve earthquake hazard models for the whole Pacific Northwest. And the video that I just released a few hours ago that they found liquid is adding to that puzzle. So you should really watch it. I'll put it in the end screen, because for millions of people that are living in British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, Northern California, that knowledge for us, it is crucial. It will be crucial. And of course, that discovery is fascinating because we're also witnessing something incredibly rare, process that unfolds over millions of years. But thanks to our modern technology, scientists have finally caught it happening in real time. And as AI progresses, I think new findings, it will accelerate. I'm hopeful that we will understand that system way better in the future. That deep beneath the ocean, beneath the Pacific Ocean, the Earth's crust is slowly tearing apart, not in one catastrophic break, piece by piece, slow geological collapse. And it shows us how our planet rebuilds itself, and even the most powerful and threatening tectonic systems on Earth eventually come to an end. So I hope you like this. Subscribe if you want to hear more about that. If you want to support the channel and fill me up with coffee, link is in the description. Thank you so much. If you want to know more about my private life, click the join button to become a supporting channel member with videos for channel members only. Thank you for your supers. Thank you for watching. And hey, watch this. You need to see it. The fluids underneath the Cascadia Zone. I see you there in a second. Bye-bye.